This is the Little Turtle Wildlife Area, and it's a flowage that's 260 acres of wetland and on 1,200 acres. It was owned by the Iron County Forestry, and in cooperation with the DNR, a local citizens group, the local wildlife sportsman's club, decided that they'd like to have a wetland here. And this was in the 60s, 1960s, they started the process, and they actually went to the governor's office and got the approvals and stuff like that. And in 1970, the dike was built where a beaver pond had historically occurred off and on. And so then that dike dammed the Little Turtle River, which is the river that comes out of the lakes in Mercer. They all drain through here, and created this wetland. And then in 1980, there's another little dike that made a sub-impoundment of about 15 acres, so we can adjust the water and always have water in one or the other. And this type of a wetland project was pretty common in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. And then by the 1980s, damming navigable bodies or streams was no longer in vogue, and so the big projects like this were no longer done. So we're lucky to have it here. It's the #1 spot to bird watch. Come and look for any kind of wildlife in the county, and it's one of the best spots to duck hunt. It's small, so it's usually good for about a week, and then the birds, move to bigger water and stuff. But this whole basin here was seeded in wild rice in 1992, and it took really well. And so this will be all filled up with rice in about 2 months, and then in August it'll get harvested, and we have tribal members, local citizens, and people come from some distance to actually harvest the rice, and it'll suck in hundreds and hundreds of ducks. We have trumpeter swans nesting here, and they feed on the vegetative form of the rice. And so it's pretty neat. Right now it looks very open, and once the rice starts growing, all you'll see is the river channel that stays open. Everything else fills up with vegetation, and that wild rice is just beautiful habitat for many species. The muskrats are out here. Of course, they use the plant portion, the stem portion, to build their huts. They feed on that. And we occasionally have beaver. Because we have a dam, beaver don't coexist really well because they might try and plug the structure. But lots of wildlife here. We've had, with the openness here, we've actually, 1 year in May, had a snowy owl here for our local bird fest tours, bringing birders out here, and we had a snowy owl even in May. We do have some artificial osprey platforms, and we'll look at them later, but we've got nesting osprey out here. We have an eagle nest just through the woods that way, and we have had loons nest out here, but there's no loons this year. We have a bunch of waterfowl, wood duck houses. Here we get mostly here we get mostly hooded mergansers. And so just last week I looked in a nest box and there was a hen sitting on 11 eggs. So we do get some waterfowl production out here. It's the only spot in this county I ever found a gadwall nest. So it's a pretty neat area. And of course we have the assorted shorebirds. We've had least bitterns here, which are quite hard to find and rare. And so it's a real good bird spot. I'm a member of our local birdathon team. We're raising money for bird conservation in the state of Wisconsin, and half the money stays locally, which we give to the silent sports people for their bike and hiking trails. And here is our first stop on the birdathon. We'll be here at 4 o'clock in the morning next Sunday, starting our birdathon birding trip, which goes all day. So just a real unique spot. And then I started the story by saying that this was owned by the Iron County Forestry, and about 15 years ago we traded them some forestry land that was aspen and other wood that basically, trees that could be harvested on a continuous basis. We traded them and a little bit of money for this 1,200 acres. So now the state of Wisconsin owns this, and it was added to the Turtle Flambeau Flowage Scenic Water Area. So it's state-owned now. If we go to the signs there, the local Northwoods Wildlife and Wetland Club have now adopted this property. So we're out here doing some of the management and helping the state manage this area now. And that's pretty neat around the circle, because this was started by the predecessor of that club, and they were vacant for about 20 years, and we started the club again, and now we're taking care of the same spot, so that's pretty cool. Tree swallow nest, no eggs yet.
No eggs.
No eggs yet. The Wisconsin Conservation Corps youth group built this around 1985 as a warming shed for cross-country skiers. So they built a log cabin for them.